All right, guys, what is up? Welcome back to another amazing episode of Live in the Shop with CustomLowz. Today we're on part 5.5, I guess is what we're calling it, of this multiple part series. We're working on this Ford F-150 underseat enclosure. As you guys can see, if you've watched even a couple of the videos of the series, these enclosures take a lot of work and a lot of time to get done. So we basically got most of the structure done. Right now we're just doing some body work, or I'm just doing some body work. I guess you guys are watching, so you're involved, but I'm kind of smoothing out the transition between these caps and the top. I wasn't very happy with how they looked. I really don't want them to look like an afterthought or something that was just done like last second. I want it to be something that looks like it was actually thoughtfully incorporated into the box. So I'm doing some body work, some Bondo body filler on some areas, just trying to smooth the transition out between the piece and the top. Right now, I'm going to be mixing up some Bondo. We're going to bring you guys closer into here so you guys can actually see what I'm doing and where I'm putting all this stuff. I did actually modify a Bondo knife. Or I guess you can call it a filler knife, putty knife, filler spreader, putty spreader, whatever you'd like to call it. So I basically just sanded a larger round over on that corner. It'll help me kind of get the smooth transition I want, kind of shape it with the actual spreader versus trying to, put a whole big bunch of it on there and then actually sand it to the shape you want. That's going to take a lot more time, and you're also going to go through a lot more body filler doing it that way. So what we're doing here is we're filling these spots in, trying to get that contour looking a little better. That should be a good angle for you guys. You guys can see what's going on with the body filler. Actually, you know what? I think we'll bring you a little bit lower so you can see it more in line. If you guys are just tuning in, drop me a comment. Let me know you're here, where you're watching from. I appreciate each and every one of you for tuning in. All right. So that looks good to me. So you can see those caps we added to the top. Now that was just to ensure that the motors had more than enough clearance to fit in there. Now I'm just trying to work on the transition between them because I don't know if you guys think they look bad, but currently I'm not too happy with how they're looking. They just look like they're slapped on there afterwards. I want to get them looking like it was purposely done or it was planned ahead of time. So I'm getting some body filler mixed up. It's a little, I don't want to say it's cold because I'm in Florida, but it's a little cooler outside, so I am going to put a tiny bit more hardener in my my Bondo. You don't always want to do that. Too much hardener can make it brittle, but also it can just make it like cure way too fast to work with. I'm just putting a moderately, or a moderate amount more. I didn't want to say maybe just a drop or two more extra hardener in this situation. All right, so I got my flat knife and my curved knife. I'm probably going to apply it on with my flat knife and then kind of smooth it out with my curved knife afterwards. I'm really kind of, putting it on there heavy for now, and then once I drag my knife across, it'll smooth it out. Probably need to take a few passes at this, I'd assume. Oh man, I don't know. That went pretty far. Sweet. All right. Take our excess, put it in the areas we didn't get. There will definitely be some sanding involved into getting the shape, finalized, but if you use the the tool to shape it while it's still wet. It's going to cut down a lot of cure time, or not cure time, but sand time. Where's the rag at? All right, you know what? We're working without it. Just scrape it on the table. Yeah, I think this almost might be enough body filler to do the whole thing. You definitely got to work quick with Bondo. The whole time you're working, it's also working on hardening. Alright, I'm just going to scrape up every little last bit I can, because I think I might be able to do this whole thing with just what I have on here now. Or at least the whole first coat. Starting to cure a little bit, starting to drag it now. So you gotta be real careful. All right. Try to get away any excess we can now. It'll just help us with making the sanding process go a lot quicker. All right. I think we're pretty good there. Gonna let this cure up. We'll check if we got any other spots on the box that might need some. I'm sure we do. Kind of use the rest of this up. There's always a few areas you miss on the first round. Oh, right on the front there. I'm just trying to use this stuff up, while I can. There's definitely more things on the box to work on, and I'm trying to waste as little bit of material as I possibly can, or at least use it in other spots. It's kind of hard to guess how much filler you need sometimes, so I tend to end up with extra. There's always some other spots on the box, or sometimes I'll even you know, run over to another box that I know I'm working on needs a little body filler in some spots and kind of put it there when I can. Alright, this thing looks pretty good overall. A few little areas. This is getting bed liner on it. So that will hide some small things, but not everything, of course. Alright, looking pretty good so far. I know on the bottom side I got a little bit more to do. Figured I would get these transitions started though. You'll probably even flip this over, work on the bottom, just have it on the baffle actually. Alright, looking good so far. Alright, I'm going to confidently say we got everything. Alright, so let me get you guys a better angle. Robert, what's up, man? Thank you so much for tuning in. Fresh Media, thank you for tuning in, man. Newark, New Jersey, thanks for tuning in from Newark, Robert. Early morning grind, yes it is, Fresh Media. We're always on I'm always on the early morning. Well, it's not that early anymore, it's 7, but I guess that depends on what you call early. I also get to bed early, so I definitely I enjoy working the morning hours more than I do during the day, so I'm more happy waking up. You know, perfect day for me is waking up at like 4 a.m. and getting to work about 4:30, and then I only have to work till 5, and it's an easy day, and you're still off plenty of time to do things. I used to work like a night shift, but that was rough too, because then you're like opposite schedules with the rest of the world almost. I'm just over here cleaning up my Bondo knife and the board. While it's still, you know, drying, I like to scrape everything away, clean all my tools off now versus waiting for it to dry. I've seen some people, they wait for the Bondo to dry and then they crack it off there, but I've definitely tried that method and realized that sometimes it doesn't all crack off. And especially on your spreaders, you want your edge to be as clean as possible because you're going to start dragging lines in it. It's going to just cause you more work, more body filler. Better off cleaning, in my opinion, everything as soon as you're done with it. And I'll even clean it in between rounds of different coats, even as I'm doing right now. I still got more to put on, but I'm going to clean the knife off and the spreading board because if you start getting any sort of little particles in it or the knife has like a chunk on it, it'll start dragging lines into your body work, and then you're going to be trying to sand out, you know, what looks like a gouge almost. All right, so I'm still curing up, waiting on this to dry. Normally you could work on it in the green stage. This is pretty close to, you know, shaped as far as I need it, so I'm probably going to wait till it is fully dry, or at least a little closer, because we'll be burning through sandpaper with it this tacky. You don't want it to be like sticky. You want it to just be soft enough to kind of press your fingernail in it. I'd say that's probably, I guess you could call it the green stage. But yeah, this thing's definitely turning out good. Definitely happier with the transitions. I really felt like it looked like a last second add-on, and I don't like that stuff. I like my designs to seem intentional, so a little extra work, but definitely going to be well worth it in the end. Okay, so we got a little more on the bottom corner here where I cut this other 45. if you guys are bedlinering anything where you have edge grain, you're going to get, it's going to show through the bed liner. Like, and I don't care what you do, it's just going to show through the bed liner. You can sand it down to 320 if you wanted, and it will likely still show through the bed liner. I just realized my head's being cut off by the top of the camera. I didn't think I was tall enough to have that issue. All right. But yeah, so I like to Bondo or body filler all my edge grain areas when I do bed liner, because it'll kind of seep in there and it'll raise that edge grain there, and you'll see lines. It'll be very, very light, but you'll definitely see it. And you'll notice the difference between when you actually do the proper body work, sand it smooth, put some body filler, sand that smooth. You're going to notice that it's just so much of a nicer finish in the end. I've even tried sanding down to 320 and filling every little tiny void and thing I could. And after bed liner, you're like, wow, I can still see, you know, the edge grain of the plywood. You could spray a couple, like I just had to spray an extra kit on it, which sucks because then you're putting on more material than needed. And that stuff is $35, $40 a bottle. Not cheap. Little body work beforehand will save us all that headache. Plus, give us a much better looking box in the end for sure. Now, people do ask, and I have gotten the question, do you worry about body filler cracking off of the box? You know, just based on the nature of the vibration. I'd say in certain areas, if you didn't prep right before you applied the body filler, or obviously putting an insane amount on would definitely be a bad idea. I'm definitely brushing the limit of too much in between, like the hump caps or whatever you'd like to call them. But it was really the only thing I could do to give it a smooth transition. And it's really maybe 3/16 thick in the thickest spot. It actually kind of contours between the two. So I'm not worried about it in this situation, especially because I'm going to be doing bed liner over the whole box anyway. So not going to have to worry about something like that. All right, got my Bondo over here, putting some hardener in it. We're going to mix this up, get back over there, start spreading it out. Moving the camera is honestly just way too big of a pain. Especially with Bondo, it dries with a certain time on it, so the longer you take doing anything else is the less time you're going to have to work with the body filler. And I'm just putting a thin skim coat over it, basically to kind of seal that edge grain over. And also seal any little pores we have, you know, on the face of this thing. Because that's what's going to soak up the bed liner and make it like apparent that it is wood. And obviously you're going to know it's made out of wood, but I'd like it to be a, you know, I don't want you to be able to tell from the outside finish what it's made out of. All right, get the few areas that still need it. If you guys are just tuning in, we're working on a 2018 Ford F-150 enclosure for 3 Kicker CVX 10s. Basically got the box is nearly finished. We're just doing some last minute body work, smoothing out some transitions on the humps, filling all the little holes, screw holes, nail holes, pin holes, whatever there may be. It's getting the bedliner finish on the outside of this thing. Yeah, I almost can't find anywhere else to put this stuff. It's a good thing though. Means I'm getting close to done. Alright, that looks pretty good. Clean the knife off and the spreader. Colby, what is up, man? Good morning. Thank you for tuning in. George Compost, good morning, man. Thank you for tuning in. The contours of the box look too good. Thank you, Colby. I appreciate that. Urban Sasquatch, I'm on my lunch break for the night shift. LOL. Early morning building ain't for me, dog. Well, yeah, if you're working night shift, your early mornings, you're sleeping. I can tell you that much. Sean Barlow, what's up, man? Thank you so much for tuning in, if I didn't already say so yet. My loyal viewers. I almost prefer it this way because I can actually like remember all of you with it not being like a ton of people. But you guys, I mean, almost everybody I'm seeing on the viewing right now is like a regular viewer. So I appreciate all you guys who are viewing right now. Basin Sierra, what's up, man? Alright, so we're going to give this thing a little bit of time to dry. We're going to jump back on sanding. There we go. Yeah, the transitions on that thing definitely look a little better. They're going to look a lot nicer once we bedliner. It's kind of hard to tell when you got the wood, body filler, wood. The different textures there make it really hard to tell what shape anything is. Yeah, this little added cap, thing just to make sure the motors don't ever hit is like a multiple day process at this point. Although I know, there's probably a lot of you guys who can do it quicker. You're about to rip out the wall in your truck even though you just put it in. Why are you ripping it out then? Wasn't loud enough for you? Or are you just changing up? I mean, I walled my truck off three different times. And really it's just to kind of change things up every time. I found that's when I really found that the building process for me is way more fun and enjoyable than actually playing it. Playing it was really cool and fun. Like going to shows and giving demos was always really fun. I remember even like Slam Fest back when it was in Gainesville, man. My first time ever, I went with like this 318 C-pillar wall. It was 3 stereo integrity HT18s on, 3 ACPL 1500s, and it was, I mean, it was a fail if you'd ask me now. Like my current knowledge, I definitely I'd build something way better, but yeah, I went there with that, and it was kind of like a little disappointing. You want to give out demos, and like when you don't have a super loud build, like not everybody's flocking to your vehicle, and that's kind of the shitty thing you see at car shows, like, and almost why I make it a point when I am at car shows to go check out a lot of the smaller builds too, because they deserve appreciation and love just like the big giant loud builds. Either way though, I had that build. Next year I came back with 6 Contralto 15s and a B pillar wall, and I mean it was so fun giving out demos, having people line up, like doing hair tricks, left and right, man. I know Galen, Baseman 17 or Baseman something 14 something. You guys are probably familiar with him on YouTube. I would definitely say he did a video of my truck actually, which was like super cool. I was like super excited about that because I was obviously a big fan of him, watching all his demo videos. And it seemed like if you had a video or if you had your build on one of the YouTubers' pages, like that was the goal back then in my mind, or that's where when you knew it was kind of like noteworthy. Your build was pretty good if you got one of the YouTubers to film it. Thankfully though, like with the advent of so many more demo filmers, like Jacob Viral, so on. So there's so many demo videographers. I don't really want to even try to name them all, but either way, I noticed they do give a lot of love to even the smaller builds, like the more simple setups, which is really cool because it gives you guys an actual, a real life view at what the shows are like. I know a lot of people just show off those giant, huge, humongous builds, and I think it really intimidates people to bring their rides to shows. Colby, you still rocking that truck? Well, I still have the truck. It has been sitting in my shop parking lot for longer than I'd like to admit, 6 months or so. Maybe even longer than that. I ended up just getting a new car. The rear end went out on it, and to be honest, with my daughter coming, I had gutted that thing for audio purposes, and I mean, I cut off seat belt brackets. I cut off brackets that held seats in, dude. I mean, I gutted the entire truck. I had the grinder in there many times. I even took out rear airbags just to get more space for the box. Like, I did everything you could do to make that vehicle, I mean, I guess, I don't want to say unsafe because the intention was not to make it unsafe, obviously. But anyway, I kind of ditched the truck and I kind of tucked it to the side for now because it's, in my mind, will never be deemed safe enough for me to feel comfortable putting my kid in or even having my girl ride in. It's different when you're driving in it, you can kind of, you're the only one having to face that possible consequence of it not being, safe. Oh, it was a stereo-powered truck? Stereo-powered truck. I'm confused by what you mean, stereo-powered truck. What do you mean, Colby? But yeah, anyway, like I'm saying, it's just I ditched the truck because it's never gonna be safe enough. Like I can weld new, brackets for the seats and seat belts and stuff like that, but I'm not trusting that over factory done the safety features in the vehicle. So it'll likely sit for a couple more years. I'm gonna be fixing the rear end soon, so it's at least movable and drivable, and I'll have to keep it sitting in one parking spot. Yeah, Colby, it was definitely a rolling stereo. Forget the safety factors. Yes, very much so. And honestly, it's a Toyota Sequoia, and they had a big recall on the airbags. And so before I put my stereo in, I had to deal with this, and it was like probably a year waiting time for me to actually get brought into the shop to have them replace my airbag. But in that whole time, they told me I couldn't have a passenger in there because the airbag might malfunction. It was like one of those ones that it was basically like exploding and there were shards of metal flying out of it or something insane like that. But couldn't use it, and basically I only was able to drive it for myself, and finally got it fixed. But apparently the one they replaced it with is defective also, which is insane because when I actually got to the appointment and they replaced the airbag, they called me back and had to say that they couldn't complete it because once they put the airbag in, it failed the test. And then I had to wait like another 6 months, get the new one in, and then a year and a half afterwards, they sent me another letter saying that it could be faulty again. So, yeah. You should put a link in the description of the video dude made of your truck. I mean, while we're waiting on Bondo to dry, I might be able to do you guys one better. Let's see. I might be able to actually pull the video up. That would be way cooler than actually just putting a link in the description. Obviously, I can only play like, small portions of it, but yeah, hold on. Let me try to do that actually because I think that'd be way cooler. You guys can get an idea of actually what I'm talking about. Okay, so let's pull up the YouTubes, and my computer is probably going to run on godly slow for a few seconds here. Bear with me, guys. We're working this out. We're waiting on Bondo to dry anyway, so we're not missing anything fun or exciting. But yeah, we're going to try to pull up this demo video that Galen did of my build back in the day. This was the original Slam Fest. I can probably just look up, I bet I can just look up 6 Contralto 15s and it'll pull up a couple. I know a couple people took videos of my build actually. It was sadly never finished. It was always kind of in working progress, just like in construction basically. But it definitely got down. It was loud for sure. Okay, so let's see if I can pull this up. All right. Yeah, I'm looking at my CPU settings. My computer's using 99% of its CPU capabilities right now, which is insane. Actually, he has 2 different videos. We're going to pull up. Yeah, this was 5 years ago. Oh my gosh. Okay, so let's see if I can cue this up and then I'll share the screen with you guys. All right, let's see. I'm going to let it load a little bit so when I pull it up, hopefully it's not going to just buffer the whole time. Like right now, I can't even see the video. It's just spinning buffer wheel. All right, it's loading, and please forgive because I'll share the audio. Please forgive my ungodly alt whine I had back in the day. It's embarrassing for sure. I know there's a few comments on there like alt whine, like it was bad, dude. I don't know what it was. I could not get around it. I changed out multiple head units, redid my grounds. For whatever reason, I got alt whine in that thing the second I put in a high output alternator. And I've even like changed out to different high output alternators and still gave me the same issue. All right, we're letting this thing buffer up a little bit more. Okay. Let's see the best way to do this. All right, so we got that. Okay, so I'm gonna share a screen. All right, let's try this out. Now I can guarantee my computer's gonna run real slow after I start this. All right. Okay, we're going. Add this to stream. Let's see what we got here. Again, guys, we're showing off the an old demo video. We're waiting on Bondo to dry right now, so we're kind of just killing time. I'm gonna add in. Colby suggested putting the link in there, but I was running 2 Banda 7Ks. All right, so hopefully, actually, you know what? I can just look on my other. I can't. Let's see here. I got to separate this tab because I can't actually see if you guys can see what's going on. Okay, cool. I hope. Yeah. All right. Put me in the corner. Yeah, it was okay. So the setup of the system was it was a 2004 Toyota Sequoia. It has a B-pillar wall. It's 6 contralto, crescendo audio contralto 15s on 2 Banda 7Ks. I had 16 PWX 6.5s in there, 8 crescendo FT1s, and yeah, that's about it. A lot of crescendo stuff. It was basically a full crescendo build. The batteries were 10 HPL 75s. All right, so I'm 99% sure you guys can actually see this on stream. Again, alt wine, like terrible alt wine. My door panels again look temporary. I know the quality on my side's like ultra nerfed. Hold on. Oh, I can't even get it to change quality settings. My computer's running so slow. As you guys can see, this thing was definitely doing hair tricks. That's the build right there. 615s in a B-pillar wall. You know, the box actually looked pretty good. Had a stained baffle. Had the brace in there. That's actually my sister right there in the video. Yeah, this thing was loud, man. Giving Galen the demo was like such a big goal. That voltage right there, 13.1, full demoing. Them crescendo audio batteries were putting in work, man. I tell you what. All right, let's see if we can pull up the Timmy-san video. Give you guys one different view. All right, and hopefully you guys can actually still see what is going on. Looks like you can. We're gonna hope you can. Yes, Timmy is definitely a legend for sure. I was just excited to have him in my truck alone because it's like, holy shit, this guy's like wants to get in my build. It was just everything, dude, was so exciting, man. Like just the whole show experience, like going there, like demoing a big build, like the whole thing was very exciting for sure. All right, so hold on, let me pause this and let this load up. I don't know why it's doing that. Let's see if I can actually change these. Yeah, 144p. Let's at least get 720. I don't know why YouTube does that. It like instantly turns your quality down to the lowest setting possible. I've seen other people complain about it too, so well, obviously it's going to take a lot longer to load in here, so bear with us. All right, and hopefully I don't get, I mean, I'm sure the music alone that he played is probably going to get me like demonetized alone, but it's okay. That's okay. Quality is much better, still lagging horribly. All right, that's why you don't play 720p. This computer is horrible. All right, we're going to go to 480. You guys can still see how loud it is in 480p, I believe. Of course, it's got to go through the whole buffering process again. Loading. All right. Eventually it'll do its thing, I believe. Drag it back here. Get a little more. Oh, what? That just robbed me. Call the cops. It was loaded all the way up to like here. Pull the bar back and just not loaded no more. All right, we're gonna see if we can get this to work now. We'll play a little bit more of this. The Bondo's surely about to be dried soon. Yeah, the funny thing is, like, both of those guys right there, I believe that's Timmy, and then Evan Otis, and then that's Cody. I actually didn't know any of them at the time, and actually turned out to be good friends with all of them in the end. I feel like back in the day, the bass community was a little more friendly than it is now. A lot of it's like really kind of, I don't know, fueled by people wanting to best each other, I guess. Oh my gosh, this computer's going so slow. I don't know if we're ever going to get to this load. All right, maybe we're going to get somewhere. Oh gosh. All right. I can't take any more of this computer loading this slow. Oh no. Hopefully I didn't lose you guys. I know my screen went out on the computer side. Hopefully you guys still have me on the phone side of this thing. We're going to see when we get back there, though. I think the computer was just loading so slow that it almost timed out. Okay, let's close all this other stuff up. I think we ended the screen sharing. You guys hopefully can see, hopefully still see the box. I'm jumping back on here now on the computer side of it. I basically stream on the computer to ensure it never... Okay. All right, Safari, you said there's a guy with the Sequoia had the same problem with wine. Yeah, I've seen it before myself as well. Actually, dang, why am I drawing a blank on his name? He has a popular Parker something, Parker D something. Anyway, he has a really cool YouTube channel actually, but he has a Toyota Sequoia, and that's kind of how I found him. I was like, oh man, Toyota Sequoia, and then I kind of watch his videos regularly, almost as a Toyota Sequoia fan. But I noticed that he was talking about having some wine too. It's at 3 frames per second. It might have been at 1 frame per second, honestly. That was lagging so horribly bad. Savari, his 4-channel amp was the problem. That might have been my issue. I don't know. Basshead Parker. Okay, there you go. Basshead Parker is who I'm talking about. Yeah, it might have been my 4-channel amp, honestly. Who knows? I mean, and then Colby, you said the signal to noise ratio not so good on those bandas. Yeah, in hindsight, dude, I would say I would have probably picked a different brand amp if I knew better at the time. But also, I got them for a freaking steal. Like, I think I bought one for $400 and I bought the other for like $350. No joke. I almost wasn't even planning on running bandas at all until one of my buddies was selling one for so cheap. It was like, oh, okay, well, there we go. 7,000 watts for $400. I'm buying that right now. I mean, at the time they were pretty cost effective. They were only like $700 new or something like that. I don't know what they are now. I haven't even looked into them. Ever since that build's been done, I kind of gave up on them. I mean, they definitely took a lot of abuse, and I got those things ungodly hot, dude. Like the normal fuse in the amp, I got the amp so hot that it was actually like melting the plastic away from the fuse, and not just because the fuse was like arcing out. Safari said Toyotas don't do so well with high output alts. Yeah, I'm not sure what it was, man. Like, it just added a problem in there. I was definitely happy with my alt, though, and, you know, everything involved with it. Mike Singer definitely did a good job on the alt. When you change the grounds and do everything you can and still whines, it's usually faulty amplifiers. Yeah, that could have been a situation. To be honest with you, at the time, I was just so happy that it played bass. Like, I don't even care. I'm happy with it. I'll just deal with it. I'll live with the alt whine. Live with a little bit of alt whine. It picked it up so badly on the video because, you know, videos for some reason they pick up that higher pitch frequencies and like it just like magnified it almost. All right, guys, we're back. No, sorry, man. I had to go run outside real quick. Hopefully you guys can hear me again. All right. So, Bondo should be dried. I know it's a little boring watching filler dry. Yeah, Colby, those amps had a single RCA input, which I guess makes sense because bass doesn't need two inputs for it, technically. So that's okay, but it did definitely force to use like a Y, Y connector as a reducer, or plug in only one side, I guess, of your RCA. I don't know why they did it like that. I guess because it's a mono amp. But still, they should have put 2 RCAs on there for sure. Overall, it was a really good amp in my opinion, and it definitely took a lot of abuse, but if it weren't for the fact that I got a steal of a deal on those bad boys, I probably wouldn't have ran them. But again, I'm glad it all turned out that way, because for the power that I got, you really can't beat it for the money. Like, you're not getting, those things were still clamping 5,000 watts, and you're just not getting that kind of power for $400, almost for anything. That's like a big thing when people ask me. Bearvids recommends Banda. Hey man, maybe it's still as good as I remember. I don't know. I mean, again, I had phenomenal results with it, honestly. Like, I had nothing but good to say about it when I had the amps. The only reason I got rid of them is because I had a different idea and I wanted to go with a different setup. And I did end up even going with something Brazilian in the end. I went with Sound Digital, which I don't want to say was a bad idea, but I will say that I have never had so many DOA amps in my career of working with car audio. Like, I had a customer who did a build and used two of the Sound Digital 8Ks. One was DOA, and I got 3 Sound Digital 8Ks. One was DOA of those, and the Sound Digital 1200.1s, I had 2 of them. One had issues right out the box. It was kind of just disappointing, honestly. Like, I almost wish I would have stayed the Banda route or picked a different brand. But again, at that time, I'm not made of money by no means, and I don't want to spend unnecessary money when it comes to a build. So I kind of look at dollar per watt when it comes to any amplifier. Like, I'm not really brand specific. If it's a brand that sounds stupid or maybe other people don't like, but it'll do a decent wattage for how much you have to pay for it, I would still say that's a good choice of amp. I mean, even if it's like a Boss 4K, I don't know how much they are, and I'm pulling numbers purely out of my head, out of the sky. So, Boss 4K, if it cost $100, but it did, even 1,000 watts, it's like, well, for $100, I mean, even if it did 500 watts, for $100, 500 watts is pretty good. There's probably for sure going to be other brands that will possibly do that, but it's like, what does that amp do? I'm not concerned with oh, well, this brand, and that brand will do such and such. I'm only concerned at the time with what my personal budget will kind of allow. Colby, people knock Boss, but all the ones I've used last forever. Well, that's probably going to be because you probably knew what you were doing, or you were abusive to your stuff. I would say a lot of people, the fact that people, say Boss sucks and it blows up or it breaks, they're probably brand new into the hobby of doing car audio. They're probably setting their gains like it is a volume knob, probably heavily using that bass boost knob on there. And then they're +5 in the bass on their radio, because you just don't know. So I think because Boss is so cheap, it has such a low entry point for people to get into that brand. And when people go into car audio, you really don't know what is what, man. Like, I've learned so much about what brands are, and then even furthermore, like, you start to learn, like, okay, well, this, these four brands are built in the same build house, like, but they're substantially different prices. Like, what makes one more than another? Obviously, there's components, but then even further, you've seen that, like, um, I think Old School Car Stereo, he's done, like, amp reviews, amp comparisons, and you kind of realize that, like, there's multiple amps that are nearly identical down to every component. They might change some, like, some colors of the component, or like the wrap on the outside of the capacitors or something like that, but it's not a different amp. It's the same amp, same components, same electronics, um, essentially same everything, but there's just drastically different price points between the two brands. Um, Even subwoofers, you're going to find the same thing. There's a lot of those brands out there that are shopping Alibaba, and they're just building a subwoofer out of a catalog, and it can get kind of confusing on what to trust in that situation. But I mean, big brands, man, even though Boss Audio is clowned, it is a big brand. Like, it's no doubt they probably sell more than some of our favorite brands, unless you're talking Rockford or Kicker, or any of the other, like, um home, I don't want to say home brand, but like, they're synonymous with car audio. Like, car audio and Rockford Fosgate and car audio and Kicker just go together. Like, if you talk about subwoofers to, like, Joe Schmo, there's a likelihood he knows, Rockford Fosgate, or he knows Kicker. I mean, he probably definitely knows Kicker, but then he also might even know Boss. Like, he's probably also heard, though, that Boss is bad. Like, even the unknowledgeable people hear, like, the fake horror stories of all these brands. It's all made in China anyway, Colby says. Um, True to a certain extent. I would say the better amps are made in Korea. I personally myself like Korean amps over Chinese amps, so that's going to be a thing too. And I'm looking for an amplifier. I'm going to look at, like, okay, what build house was this made out of? And that's, like, sometimes not easy information to figure out. And a lot of, obviously brands, they're not going to be too forthcoming with what build house it was made in, and that has nothing to do with them being dishonest. It's just like, why would I tell you my distributor? Because you might just try to go step on my toes down the road. Like, certain things in business you want to keep a secret, so that is all fine and good, but it's really, like, you're going to realize that there's, like, similar build houses, and when you're looking for an amp, I would say Korean over Chinese boards all day long. It's just, from what I've seen, the better brands run Korean, and they seem to do better and have better results. That doesn't mean China can't make an amp that, like, is fully more capable than a Korean amp, I would say, but from what I've seen, companies are buying the better amps from Korea. Well, I would say probably because, I mean, that they're just trying to basically take a technology that they haven't been using and start using it. I mean, they might have. uh, I'm speaking totally out of, like, totally just based on my knowledge purely, but it seems like Korean amps and Chinese amps were not doing full bridge. That was more of a Brazilian thing to do, and then kind of companies realized that, hey, this is a pretty good technology. Let's do some revisions to this and make our own. And I don't know. I've never used any of the Korean full bridges myself. I believe Sundown's full bridge amp is a Korean full bridge. That was, like, the thing with Banda too, is they were full bridge, and that was kind of like the selling point. Was it was like full bridge power, and I mean, you did kind of see. Um, it was it like the full bridge, for some reason, it seemed like it did better power at higher ohm loads. Like, I don't know in which way, or, like, you know um, mechanically or electronically, it actually did better at like higher ohm lows, but it just seemed like those full bridge amps, like at 4 ohm they did more power. Like their power stayed true, through the ohm load rise. Or not even true. It just seemed like if it did 8K at 1 ohm, it was going to do 7K at 2 ohm, and it was like, most of the time, if it's going to do 8K at 1 ohm, at 2 ohm, it's going to do 4K. Like, it's just going to half. It's half every time you up the impedance. Sundown SFB are made in China. Huh. I didn't know that. But I think there's the difference as well, is like, I don't know Jacob personally, but from what I've heard of him and seen of his company, and like what I've watched his interviews as well, it seems like he cares about the parts that goes into his amps. So he probably is going to be a little more he's going to scrutinize the build houses a little more than probably some of these other companies. But even they've had problem with build houses, like their Sundown 3K. They realized, I think because of Big D Wiz, actually, that the build house changed something in their amplifiers without their permission. Just tweaked one little thing, and the amp still did 3K and a little bit over, but it was known for doing like 32 or 3400 watts or something like that, and people were really butthurt because, oh, what do you mean it doesn't do 3400 watts, this 3K amp? And it's like, well, we never sold you it as that. It just was like knowledge that it did that, and now it doesn't. But they realized that their build house kind of changed something along the way. I think they even actually changed their testing routine because of that, and they actually started testing more amps they put through the line. All right, this Bondo is dried. We're gonna get to some sanding. I got the vacuum hooked up on here now, so I don't have to wear the mask, thankfully. But the vacuum and the sander are really loud. So I probably won't be doing a whole lot of slow motion. Oh yeah, with the sander on, it's probably too loud to hear anything I'm saying. Although this mic does have some good noise cancellation, so. Back to stream. All right, and we're back. Hopefully you guys can hear me. Everything is all good. Safari said the JP23 is really good at a price of $350. He's coming out with a 6K in March. The 23, what does that do? 2300 watts, I would assume. If so, at $350, that is a pretty good price. Yeah, those amps look actually really cool, man. I wanna try them out. Colby, hopefully you can hear me. Well, I'm gonna guess because Safari commented back to what I said. I assume y'all can hear me. Kobe said I run a Scar SKV2 Korean. It's been killer. Yeah, the SK line on the Scar amps, I would say that is definitely their top line, I guess, if you want to call it that. Yeah, the phone didn't die. I have it charging. It's just, for whatever reason, we get to about an hour and a half of streaming, the phone just totally shuts the internet, shuts Safari down. I'm not sure why. You guys keep watching, commenting, and subscribing to my videos, and soon enough, I will be able to afford a GoPro. Yeah, I definitely want to go that route. I might even still keep the phone even after getting the GoPro, just to have like two possible angles, and then I can just switch between. Because that's one thing, like moving back and forth between, you know, this station and the router. I would like to see, you know, I would like you guys to be able to see me and see what I'm doing as I'm moving out throughout the shot. But a lot of times it's hard to do when you have one camera, because then I'm moving it around. It's like I'm attached to a cord charging it. The front of the box. All right, well, let's finish sanding this real quick. I got sidetracked trying to fix the damn stream, man. This thing sucks. That's okay. I'll look back on all this when I have like good cameras and remember, like, hey, that sucked, but it was fun. I was running the SFB 8K. The bass is more of a punch swifted to the Salt 8K. The bass is more smooth. Yeah, I think that's just the full bridge to the Korean technology. Honestly, we tried that out on a my setup. I had two Band of 7Ks and I traded it out for a Shock 8K, which in theory probably did the same amount of power after rise because I think we wired the Shock 8K to like 0.34 or something like that, really low. Anyway, I did notice a difference in the bass response and how it actually sounded to my ear. It seemed just like a smoother roll off between the notes. Um, as far as like number wise though, I noticed I literally stayed the same number. So I guess that's probably a good thing because it was two Banda 7Ks versus one Shock 8K. But again, that 8K was supposed to be known to put out 10K, 12K sometimes. There you go, Colby. Now we can see the front of this thing.
Alright, so right now I'm just kind of shaping everything, rounding it over, softening all the edges. I'm going to kind of smooth up these transitions between the baffle, kind of the mounting flange, and the flush mount, just where it comes together. Man, those 45, man, I love those 45s. Thank you, Colby. I like them too. I like them too. Alright, so hopefully we can get an angle that you guys can actually see what's going on here. Alright, so we got that transition right there between, you know, the flush mount and the mounting area of the baffle. So I'm going to hopefully find a disc that's half decent. Okay, get my sander. I'm going to start smoothing that area out. The orbital sander does take down a lot, but it's going to take me forever to try to get something down that far with it because it's just not that aggressive. Alright, much smoother. We'll be able to work that out with the orbital sander, kind of smooth that out or refine it. I guess I'll just keep doing all these ones, or these ones here, and then I'll have to rotate the box to work on the other ones. Alright, so you can see it's got a big lip now. I'm kind of just taking that out and smoothing that down. I want to feather it down. I don't want to bring it, you know, like at a 45. I'm really trying to go at a real easy slope. There's going to be uneven parts just with this sander. We're going to kind of finish it up with the orbital. And because it has like a more solid sanding surface, it'll keep it a little flatter. Alright, move down to the next one. I need to get my damn mask on for this thing. It's not as bad with the sander when it's hooked up to the vacuum. There's almost no dust.
You need a lazy Susan for sanding. Yeah, that'd actually be really cool. I've thought about that before. I'm just worried that like the standard, lazy Susans probably wouldn't hold a whole subwoofer box. I've seen some things like I think Harbor Freight. I've seen like they sell like a lazy Susan base, but then again, you're like, how much can you trust Harbor Freight? I'm sure they do make industrial ones, but I just haven't really obviously spent too much time looking into it. I'm blessed to be busy, I will say that, but the one and only small downfall of that is it doesn't leave me a whole ton of time to like be creative as far as solutions for getting the job done. I find myself not having a lot of time to even, like I've seen like the lazy Susan thing and I've thought about it myself 100 times, but it's just like, man, can I spend those hours putting something like that together right now when I have orders to finish and stuff like that. I mean, even stuff for the shop, like I would definitely like to add like doors on all my cabinets and drawer fronts on all my drawers, but it's like I'm not going to spend time to do stuff like that that's really not needed when I have orders to complete and get out the door. So you can build your own heavy duty one. How would I build my own? Are you talking like just with the hardware part of it? Anyway, though, yeah, like I said, it leaves me like no time to innovate and like change stuff like that. So a lot of stuff, man, I get stuck with it being the same way for way too long. Although now that I'm even saying this, it sounds kind of stupid because it's like I could just spend an hour or two now and possibly save myself hours upon hours later on. Oh, I guess that's a good point when you look at it that way. You really do just need a bearing. I guess I would only worry that like with a big box like this one's per se, like you'd get a bunch of rocking back and forth, and if you didn't have something super stable as like the mechanism part, like the big bearing, I would just worry that if it wasn't big enough and didn't have a wide enough base on it, that like you'd get so much deflection in the board on the top that it would be a pain to spin. Someone look up Industrial Lazy Susan and send me the link. Yeah, Colby, I kind of did give up on the idea of a helper, to be honest with you. And honestly, I kind of have intentions to head towards Tennessee soon-ish in the next 2 years or so. And, I don't want to like employ somebody and train them for 2 years and then, hey, I'm going to move states. And then you put someone out of a job who had a stable job. And then also you lose your good helper. Make a long rectangle base, not round. Yeah, good point. So yeah, that's one reason I did give up on a helper, but also I found myself spending way more time trying to tell a helper what to do and the right way to do things than I did actually doing any sort of work. The idea was to get a helper so I could work on more tasks that were like things that only I could do, or maybe not trust a helper doing at the time. Like a lot of these projects, like on the final finishes, it's really important to me that they come out the best they can. So I have a hard time trusting a new person, but also you got to train them up enough to be able to do these parts. Either way, you spend so much time trying to train somebody and teach them how to do things that you end up probably like at a net loss, because not only did you get less work done, but now you've also paid out money to somebody. And I'm just too small at the point right now to kind of to do anything like that. The trials and tribulations of owning a small business. I mean, I am having I'm having a buddy help me right now, but it's really just on a very temporary basis, and he's kind of cool with that just for the extra money. And I have already worked with him a lot, so I don't really have to train him as much as a regular person. He kind of, I've not only worked with him at like real jobs, I don't want to say real job, this was a real job as well, but I've not only worked with him like for other companies with him, I've worked with him in my shop a lot, and he's actually helped me build a lot of boxes. So he's just one of my, I would say, my longest standing friend that I am still in contact with. You know, as you get older, you start losing contact with people who you were friends with, you know, middle school and stuff. But yeah, I've known this dude since middle school, and he's been helping me out for a long time on certain projects. So I don't have to train. We're working on stuff with him. Oh, that would be a good idea, Colby. So I don't have to ever actually take it off of the table, and I can just have it flush mounted in there, raise it up a little bit, and then I can actually spin the whole enclosure. Not a bad idea. Good idea, Colby. Good idea. I'll get to that stuff soon. I'll do it one day. That's what I always tell myself. There's so many different shop projects I want to do around here. It's like, you know, I have to pick and choose because I've kind of reached the point where I have to very carefully evaluate how much time I spend on almost anything because I'm just so busy with this and regular life. You know, have projects at home, a family at home. Finding a mix can definitely be a difficult challenge, but I definitely kind of approach a if it ain't broke, don't fix it, you know, mentality as of now. All right, one more done. On to this next one here. And again, this is just taking, you know, this is roughing it in basically. You guys can't see nearly anything besides my arm and the tool. Yeah, there we go. If you guys are just tuning in, we're working on a 2018 Ford F-150 enclosure for 3 Kicker CVX-10s right now. Got the whole enclosure built. This is a multiple part series video. This is part 5. I guess you can call it 5.5. We did a short part 5 the other day. I figured I'd bring it back. Put a little more time into it. But also, I was kind of hoping to make part 6 just the finishing part. Bedliner, or you know, doing all the painting, getting it ready for bedliner, putting the bedliner in, or on, mixing it up. All right. So we got those roughed out. Now we're going to smooth out the transitions with the orbital sander. It just has a wider pad on it, but also it's a little softer and a little less aggressive, so we can kind of work out our shape a little nicer that way. We'll flip this around, rotate it. Need that lazy Susan. Alright, I almost want to soften up the edge of this flush mount too. I think it'll make it look a lot nicer. Kind of go a little better with, I guess you could say, the theme of this box so far. These things don't take nearly as long to build as they do to finish, in my opinion. I like to do a lot of work in the end, kind of shaping and contouring everything. Sculpting, I guess you could say. It's like carving stone, but obviously it's wood. Alright, much better. I think I might actually notch this out too and do the same thing that I did with this bottom here. I think it'll just look a lot better. Because right now, you kind of got that weird lip right there between the cap and the actual mounting area of the sub. Little details, but those are the important ones, man. I think those are what really makes a good enclosure, or a good looking enclosure, rather. Obviously, it can be a plain Jane box and still sound good, but okay, Colby. You build that flush mount lazy, Justin, record it and put it on YouTube. Maybe you'll get 1 million views. Maybe. Oh, now, you know what? Now, I totally kind of like, it went right over my head. The comment you made, now I get it. Instead of a lazy Susan, it's a lazy Justin. Smart, Colby. Too bad I'm too slow to understand what you said the first time. I killed the joke, sorry. I'm gonna need to get a video editor with all these video ideas you guys have. Alright, so smooth this next one out. Yogi, what's up, man? Thank you for tuning in. You said, what's up? Good morning. Your thoughts on square versus round round ports vented. Well, if you're saying, okay, so I guess I would say slot versus arrow port, or slot versus round. I think round ports are going to be better. In the case that you can make both of them work optimally, round is going to be your better option. But some situations you're not going to be able to fit a round in while still getting the proper amount of port area or whatever it is that you may try to be working around in your build. Round, always better. If you have to go with a slot port, try to keep your port as round or as close to round as possible, which I know that sounds confusing with a slot port, but basically, try to imagine a square. Try to keep it as square as possible in that situation. So instead of making it like, some people put like a 30-inch port by 2 inches, and it's like you could have made that 15 by 4 and it would have been better. Or you could have even made it 7 by 8. I'm not sure if that'd be the same area. Don't do my math on that one, but just try to get closer to an actual square. With a slot port, you're going to be better off that way. All right, guys, stare at this box for a little bit. I'll be back in 1 second. Yeah, so your sub specs are even. I'm back, by the way, guys. So your sub specs are even suggesting going 8 by 8. So that's kind of closer to a round. I guess they're trying to make it easier for people to build. Sometimes you wind up needing port areas that aren't going to work with what round ports there are out there. I mean, even in this 218s build I'm doing, it's kind of weird. We had to use 3 8-inch ports. He stopped making the 10-inch ports, and it would have probably would have liked, honestly, using 2 10-inch ports, but 2 8-inch ports just wasn't enough. So we had to go a little bit more and go 3 8-inch ports. Yeah, I'm not sure what tuning would be on that, Yogi. I don't know if I've suggested it to you before, but go check out Torres Box Tuner. It's like a very basic box calculator. I also believe Explicit Audio has put out, I believe they have a pretty good box calculator. It actually will even give you a cut list, I want to say. So go check that out. Look those two things up. Look up Explicit Audio first. I'm pretty sure they even have I want to say they even have woofers inputted in the program as well that you can do. Next time you drink a soda, use a square straw. See how that works out for you. Yeah, exactly right. Yeah, round is definitely better, but slot in a lot of situations is sometimes the only thing that's going to work for you. Especially when you're trying to sometimes get low tuning, because a lot of the round ports, they only come in certain lengths, but also you can't, in most situations, bend them. All right, guys, now you got to wait on me for one more minute. All right, guys, we're back. Sorry about that. Busy around here, man. Got 10,000 things to do at once, all at once, while trying to live stream it. I'm going to drink a soda right now with no straw. All right, so let's get back to this sand-in. Yeah, basically what I'm saying is it should be round. No, well, no, I'm not saying that should be 8 inches in diameter, because the port area is going to be different, obviously, between an 8x8 square than it would be for an 8-inch circle port. So check the port area first before making that judgment. I would also see in some sort of box calculator what that will make your tuning with an 8-inch port. You also have to remember most 8-inch ports, like the adjustable big ass ports, adjustable ports. Those ones have like a giant mounting flange on them, which, in my opinion, it almost makes it hard to use on most boxes, especially because in certain situations where you need two, like the mounting flange is like 12 inches or something like that on an 8-inch port. So it's not going to work for every situation. But you could go with like sonotube and like fiberglass it. Obviously, that's going to be a lot of work, and you're probably not going to get nearly as good of results as you would with the Aeroport, because it does have such large flared ends inside and outside. All right, looking much better so far. Yogi said, I'm using Kicker U, gives me all info, port velocity, and cut sheets. Oh, nice. There you go then. Colby, that is a good comment. I'm just going to put it up on screen so I'll try to read the whole thing. At least read it out loud. I know I'm going to misquote it, or at least if it's on the screen, people will get the whole thing. Very good comment. All right, if you guys are just tuning in, we're working on a 2018 Ford F-150 Underseat box for 3 kicker CVX 10s. If you are just tuning in, make sure you drop a comment in the chat. Let us know you're here, where you're tuning in from. Make sure you like this video, and if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel to see tons of amazing car audio content. Do it right now. Right now. All right. You guys always want to get into all the technicalities of car audio, man, I swear. Nobody ever wants fabrication questions. They're always asking how to tune a box, how to build a box, about the ports. I guess that's what people care about. They just want it loud. Alright, so I'm softening up the flush mount edges, just giving it a better look. We've already done quite a bit of work to this baffle. We're just getting the final shapes. I feel like this step is really, crucial. And actually the most fun part about it, honestly. This is like the final steps to your carving, or whatever you'd like to say, or final little details that make the box really what it is, honestly. All right. JR73, how's it going, man? You said, no way. I enjoy the fabrication and designing, but it has to sound good too. Yeah, good point. It does have to sound good too. I guess I feel like, well, for me, that was like my main focus at first. So now that I've kind of, obviously there's always more to learn. And I can't say I've learned all I can learn, but I've learned most of what I need to for designing the boxes. Now most of my interest or focus is all on the fabrication end of it. You guys take that technical stuff to someone else's channel, man. We're talking about fabrication here. No, don't leave though, seriously. You guys stay. You're the only viewers. Alright, so I'm going to do it anyway, but what do you guys think about cutting out this top part here, if you guys can even see it? Right there, that little notch. Oh, terrible camera work. That little notch, so we can match here. I think I'm going to do it anyway, but let me know what you guys think. I also feel like I'm always being put on the spot when you guys ask me a technical question. It's like being in school and the teacher just all of a sudden picks you out and be like, hey, what's the answer to this? It's like, oh man, I was listening, but why are you doing that to me? I feel like every answer I give is going to be slightly wrong in some way. And then I have someone who actually knows what the hell they're talking about, or just thinks they do, coming back later on like, no, that's so stupid that you said that. 2 hours into sanding, and I sanded probably for 2 hours before I even started streaming. There's a lot of stuff that bedliner will not cover, and I see a lot of people, you know, a lot of other builders who do bedliner boxes, man, they for whatever reason think that bedliner covers everything, even though you can, you know, clear as day see that, you know, there's the stuff underneath is not smooth at all. They like let it rock like it's okay. Well, that's bedliner. It's supposed to be rough. I mean, it's supposed to be textured, but what's underneath should still be as smooth as possible. Although maybe I shouldn't really be even concerning with what other people do. I know I do it this way. It's just wild though to kind of see sometimes like the mediocrity that is celebrated amongst the bass scene. Like, man, people really big up some of like the, I don't want to say the worst, but the least talented builders and fabricators for some ungodly reason. I mean, I know a lot of it has to do with personality, and I'm definitely not one for making fake friends or you know, I mean, really, honestly, I'm kind of a shutout most of the time. Doing this live stuff is kind of really extreme for me, honestly. It's definitely makes me step far, far out of my comfort zone. But, you know, I know that you got to step outside of your comfort zone to advance. Any input on the port would be greatly appreciated. Well, okay, I want to have a great sound, and at the same time, I want the extreme lows as well. That's a tall order, my man. Not really, though. What's your setup? What size subs are you running again? How many? Just so I don't have to try to scroll back through chat and I can see it right here. What size subs you have? How many? What vehicle it's going into? There's so many variables, man. It's like sometimes I stray away from even answering questions like that because there are so many variables, and there's just truly so many different little things that can attribute to the right sound or the wrong sound, in my opinion. All right, so I've decided we're going to cut it. So basically right now, what I'm going to be cutting is this transition or step that was created because of the cap. I want to take that out. I don't think it looks very good, and it definitely doesn't match that there. It'll look a lot smoother, but it'll also help make the caps look a little more thought out and intentional. JR73, some of the project I worked on, I had to just finish and move on to the next. I would find the smallest of detailed imperfections, and I would try to correct it, but it just makes the job take longer. Oh, no doubt for sure, man. You can nitpick a job to no end, and I know I can definitely do it on my own for sure, but you know, to a standard, to an extent, you know. I also don't want to be someone that like just decides like enough is enough based on time frame. Like, you know, as someone who would be ordering a custom box, I try to put myself in the customer's shoes. Like, I wouldn't very much appreciate if the builder just said, well, hey, it was going to take me too much time longer to just get it that much more right or perfect or whatever. You know, I try to do as right as I can by my customer. Obviously, getting it done in time is definitely a big factor, but I'd say if you're in a rush for something, maybe don't come to me personally. Come on. Like the first time I ever used one of these. All right, and let's see. I think I'll probably use my multi-tool just to trim that out of there. Yogi said, I've been at this over a year, and all my fronts and tiers are done to this point. I'm going to build all my fronts and tiers. I'm not sure what you meant there. I'm going to build a box and maybe get a custom box, but I want sound in the meantime and in between time. Yeah, I mean, if you're just looking for something that's going to work for the time being, I would just stick to manufacturer specs to the best of your ability. But again, if you look to subspecs, the information, I'll try to help you out. Not a tool I use very frequently, so I don't think about the blades when I'm at Home Depot or something. Let's see. So don't get me wrong. We have spoken about this project. You advised me to make it extremely solid to accommodate the flexing that will occur with the power. Well, I guess that's some good advice. Alright, this thing's already looking better. I'm so much happier. I'm glad I did that. We're going to obviously shape it out and smooth out the transitions, but now it definitely is going to match the bottom a lot better. I think overall it'll make the whole thing look a little more cohesive. Oh, you have one kicker 15 L7 Q class in the Dodge Durango. You deleted the third row. Yeah, man. If I was you, Dodge Durango L7 kicker 15, I would do subs up, port back. Try to keep your port. For a 15 Q class, I don't know the exact specs on them, but I don't believe they're a very high excursion woofer personally. I don't know if I would necessarily do an 8-inch port for that. Maybe go with a slot port. Depending on the height of your box, I would maybe go with like a port that's maybe 14 by 5 or something like that. Lengthwise, probably about 28 inches. Again, check the calculators though. See what that actually makes your tuning. Obviously, slot port, face it towards the hatch of your vehicle, subs up towards the roof. I think that'll do you plenty good. But again, check that tuning. I personally would try to probably tune it to like 32 hertz just because I like the lower frequencies. Seems like the higher frequencies also they're just so much easier to play. They take a lot less energy, I assume. Although actually, you know what? You'd maybe assume the opposite because the higher the frequency, the more, piston movements the sub makes. So, the frequency is 20 revolutions per second, I believe it would be for like 20 hertz. So 20 times up and down. So like 60 hertz is more. You'd figure that would take more energy, but for some reason, it does always seem like no matter what, it's so much easier to get a box to play high-end bass well than it is to get a box to play lows well. I don't know what it is about the combination of that, but it just seems easier. Getting the box to play low is not nearly as easy as it is to get a box to play high-end. So I would tune to around 30 hertz. Your high-end should be just fine because I know you're trying to get, overall sound, but you want to play the lows. 32. Low enough where you're going to be able to play the lows with ease, but not high enough that you might, not play the lows. Obviously, you start tuning too high, your bandwidth is going to be in the upper range. But a ported box, man, and an SUV, sub up, port back, I think you're going to do pretty good. 31.5 wide, 24 inches tall, 18 inches deep. Can you go wider? Can you go wider and not as tall? I would try that personally, and I'm only saying that because, again, you want your port to be as square as possible. So, if you're 24 inches tall, even if you did a double baffle and a single layer bottom, that's going to give you 2 1/4 inches off of 24. That's 21 3/4, I believe. Again, I'm not super the best at math, so about 21 1/4 inches for height. So your port width would probably be pretty narrow, probably around 2 to 3 inches at most. So I would say try to, if you can, make your box as wide as you possibly can, and make your box as wide as you possibly can. Shrink the height to accommodate for the extra width, and the depth. The depth could definitely be more. It's going to probably cause you an issue. You got a 15-inch sub. The cutout for, or sorry, right? I believe you said you had a 15. Damn it! Now I'm lost. Yeah. You said you had a 15. Okay, so you got a 15-inch sub, and you only have 18 inches of depth on the box. Your sub cutout's probably already going to be around 13 some odd inches square. So you got to remember, you're only going to have 5 inches left from that for the thicknesses of your wood and your port. So if you're going to have to make a port bend, you might be in trouble, or you might end up with the sub being right at the opening of the port mouth, which if you can avoid, definitely do that. So if you can make the box wider, I definitely would. Shrink the height, and if you can make it a little deeper, I would also do that as well. I would say 24 inches deep. If you can go that deep, I think that'll be a little better. Let's see here. Scraping Base, what is up, man? Thank you so much for tuning in. Colby said you need loose suspension and big box to hit lows. Fairly accurate. Not always so, but it's going to make it a lot easier for sure. That's like a cheat almost, you'd say. Although it's not really cheating, but you guys get the point. Yeah, Yogi, if you can do those things, I would try that. If you're stuck with that, those dimensions, I would maybe try to, you know, play with your port size. You're going to have to really kind of render that out or do some careful math, because you definitely might end up with a situation where your sub won't fit in between the front face of your box and the port when you're doing subs up, port back. All right, guys, we're about 2 hours, 20 minutes in. I think we're gonna start drawing it to a conclusion. If you guys have any last minute questions, feel free to answer, or not answer. Feel free to ask your questions. Yeah, we're 2 hours, 20 minutes in. It's been a long stream. We're gonna bring this back for another part. I got some more body work to do on this thing, some more shaping until I'm actually happy with it. We'll bring you guys back for doing the primer process, doing the bed liner, spraying the bed liner, kind of finishing this thing off. This thing's getting a bed liner finish on the outside, and after that, it's basically done. So a little more shaping, unfortunately, some more body work to get this thing right to where I'm, 100% happy with it. So thank you guys so much for tuning in. If you haven't already, make sure you like this video, comment 1728 in the chat or down below. If you guys are watching this after this live stream, make sure I know you've watched it this far. If you guys want any kind of truck enclosures or check out my low fabs, go check out my website, www.CustomLowz.com. I got all that stuff there. Got a whole bunch of different trucks I offer, different subwoofer boxes. I got over 100 different low fabs. If you guys need enclosure designs rather, I have 100+ different subwoofer enclosure designs, most of them starting at $5, so you guys can go check those out as well. Thank you again so much for tuning in, each and every one of you. We'll be back later on to finish this up, maybe later on tonight, maybe tomorrow. We'll see how long this takes me. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll be back.